Let's call this meeting to order. This meeting and all the meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice can be posted and given to the press in accordance with state statutes, so the citizen may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of the meeting. Roll call.
Nick Anderson.
Here.
Bruce Gage. Here. And Mike Kemp is on his way.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the June 14th, 2016 meeting.
I'll make a motion, approve the minutes of June 14th, meeting, 2016.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. You wanna wait or just go start with the stuff, or?
Well, we'll have it recorded. I mean, if Brandon and Mike Kemp.
I just heard a door.
Justin's out there milling
Oh.
around, so he might
Okay.
be coming in.
It's up to you guys. However you want to do it. I mean, if you want the department updates, probably will be a couple minutes.
It is.
Skip to that rather than have go
Sure.
across right away.
Sure. Let's do the department update.
All right. Everybody will have to scroll down to what I put in there.
We're scrolling.
Justin.
Hi, Justin.
All right, the squad mileage is, you're seeing Matt's not listed there because he's on vacation and I couldn't get his mileage because he's not here. 607 for me, 630 for Brandon, and 650 for Adam. You're probably wondering why gas is higher in one and not the other. It's just a matter of what day they fueled up. So mine is lower than Brandon's for the same, just about the same amount of miles and a bigger vehicle, but it's what they filled up and where it comes in at.
I thought you were getting amazing gas mileage there.
No.
Wow.
We'll give, I'll skip over the car stuff until Brandon gets here, hopefully. We had 141 complaints for the month. Is that, we can do that there? A fair amount of follow-up on some big cases that started this spring, which I will elaborate on a little later. Bringing our total for 2016 to 907. There was some doubling up here, so you're seeing two of the same thing. Criminal referrals are down. We're down to 12 this month. If you notice, there's a lot less drug arrests on there, and that's a good thing. There is a couple more sexual assaults of a minor and suffocation, which are concerning, but we'll get to that. Citations, 23 for the month. For traffic and ordinance violations, there were 6. 2 drug tickets for possession of marijuana, 1 truancy, and 3 others, which are just obscure. Not everyday tickets that we write. And the other part of our update, which is a little sad news, is you'll see the resignation of Corporal Rogie. He has accepted his job with Franklin Police Department. He gave his resignation, chose the 21st to be the day, his last day of service here. I accepted it, and I don't know if that's done here, or does that go to the full council on Monday? Or do you recommend accepting it, or how does that work? I've never had to do it before.
No, you're at his level. It's okay, accepted by you if you accept it.
Right.
Okay, I've accepted his resignation. We talked about the time frame. We worked with his chief down there. This is working out perfectly for him. He has communicated the whole time through the process what was going on, and it's weird. It just lined up. He sold his house within a day of getting offered the job, and then took the job and bought a house and had that offer accepted. So he's in good shape, and we wish him the best.
Oh, good for him. Hi, Brandon.
And the recruitment will keep until the end.
Sorry.
Brandon, would you like to, I know you just got back from the fire, but we,
Let's
We're not gonna do that one yet.
let's
Do
jump
that
back
after
to
go
the
across.
go
That's
across.
its own item. Yeah, that's its
Okay.
own item.
you want to go back to Old Crossing?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay.
Here's a handout that they brought, Brandon.
Perfect.
All right, it's under citizens appearances, and we do have Mark Frederickson and Dave Ray with Go Across.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Does this thing have to be on?
Yeah, I'll pick it up on the recording though.
Okay. Is it working? Is it red?
Yeah, it should be good enough.
All
Yeah,
right.
pretty good.
Well, Patrick had reached out to myself and Dave to see if we could come and talk with you guys, and we're more than happy to come out, and I pulled some data together for you. Towards the end of the month, we have a consortium meeting, which will include 19 municipalities, and it's going to be housed here. So it was picked here back, I want to say it was
November,
in
December.
November or something to have a meeting here, and then we're going to have one in December at Gold Cross. And I'm hoping to get as many people to Gold Cross as possible. I know it's in Menasha, but it's our main headquarters and our dispatch center is there. It's real important if you can make it to come, and we'll give you a tour, of Gold Cross. But one thing I did today is I pulled out specific data for the city of Weyauwega, and there's also some stuff that you'll see that's consortium based, and I'll talk about all of those. So on page 1, you'll see a monthly response breakdown. Really what this is doing is it's showing you, like in the month of January, we had 13 responses in the city here specific. February we had 18, March we had 18, I don't have to read all those specific, but through June we had 93 responses. We had 73 transports out of that, which meant there were 20 no transports. And what'll happen is we can get a call for whatever reason, we get there, people don't want to go, they sign a release and we don't go, and I can explain that a little more down a few pages here as well. There were 76 net billable calls through June, which left us at a 78% transport rate, which means 78% of the time we get on calls, we took someone somewhere. Second page is our 911 dispatch breakdown, where we focus on that. We had 47 responses through June that were related emergency from the 911 center, meaning that we're going lights and siren in the city. 37 we are not. We're going non-lights and siren. Go to page 3. This is a non-911 dispatch breakdown. What it means is if we were to do transfers or things of that nature, you have 9 listed here. 6 of those 9 were people that would pick up the phone and just call us directly. They don't go through the 911 center. 3 of those would be standbys. So when we do like a fire standby or something like that, that would be, that you would find that on this particular sheet. So there were 9 through June. Go to the next page, City Weyauwega, we have the non-conveyance. Why did we not transport somebody? If you look in the right-hand corner, you'll see the percentages. 40% of the reason why we don't transport is we'll get there and some of those say, I'm not going, and they sign a release. 25% is an invalid assist. I think that's very important. What an invalid assist is that somebody that's in their residence, maybe they trip and fall and they need help getting up, but they're not injured. We go there. The first 2 times that happens to a resident in a month, they do not receive a charge. Okay, so we had 5 of those, and then you can go right down the list. We've a code 119, that's somebody who is deceased. Well, where we get there and we cannot revive them. But we had a total of 20 on that page. Go to the next page, average response times. If you look through the month, January through June, our average is 7:55. Now, May jumped out at me at 11 minutes and 50 seconds, and I looked at May. There was a call in particular in May. How the structure works here is we have a paramedic unit in Weyauwega, one in Weyauwega, and one in London, and those 3 feed each other. Now, when we exhaust those units, we will float units out here from the valley. It happens. In fact, on the 3rd of May, there was a seizure that happened in town here. Happened to be, we had 3 911 calls going on, literally well within bing, 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 bing. And the car that was floating out here was on 15 on their way out here, and they got the call. And so they came from 15 and Cross Road, and the Cross, which is just on the east side of Hortonville. And they came here as a 21-minute response time. Now, we know that's long. Looking at that, it was a seizure, it was we did transport to the hospital, non-life-threatening deals, and they went non-emergency to the hospital. So that does happen. I do look at this. Dave looks at response times all the time to make sure that they're falling within what would be normal standards. If you go to page 6, now this is consortium specific. You're included in this, so this is everybody in included in the consortium on the 911 is the top, the 911's on the bottom, the non-911's on the bottom. So as you can see, the city of Weyauwega through June had 302 responses, Farmington had 272, New London had 218, City of Weyauwega had 87. It goes right down the list, Dayton, Hortonville, anybody that's in the consortium, their 911 responses are in here. If you look below, that's non-911, so the 356, you'd be, I can guarantee you most of those are probably Riverside Medical Center, or that's a nursing home that's not going through the 911 center. If you look at New London, same kind of thing, it's probably the hospital. If you look at Farmington, 61. People say, why is 61 at Farmington? Well, King is there. So King's calling not through the 911 center to our dispatch center, and that goes right down the line. In fact, you see why we get there, 6 responses. Those are people that just elect not to go through 911, and it does happen. You go to the next page. This is really kind of a station breakdown, and what's important about this page is you'll see Weyauwega is considered medical 11 in our CAD system, okay? So we had through June 447 total responses, okay? And so that they come from a variety of places. You know, they can come through the calls here, they might be in London, and they may be in Weyauwega, depending on what's going on in the system. What's important about when you see other, it's 214. When I looked at that other pulled across unit that is not 11, 10, 11, or 12, those are other units that are coming out here and they're posting and covering and they're taking calls. In fact, they took 214 calls. Out of your city here, there was one call, and it was a call I talked about, which was our Breezewood car that was coming up Highway 15 that came out here and took the seizure patients. So out of all those 214 calls, there was one that happened here, and it came from a different Gold Cross unit other than 10, 11, or 12 that would be here. How our system works is that we float units frequently, so they will float around. Many times you'll maybe get the unit coming here, which would be Medic 12, which would be our Weyauwega unit. So if this car goes out on a call, your next unit that would come here would be the Weyauwega unit or the Weyauwega unit. And we will float. When we get busy, we will float and sit over by, crossings where that restaurant is there. You'll see the ambulance sitting there. I think people think that they're eating there. They might go in there and get something to eat, but they're sitting there because they're posting on an ambulance call. To give you an idea, the other day, we had some maintenance done on it. We always have 2 vehicles that sit here. In fact, you got an EMT team that's here, that we have a unit that they can use here. When they want to, they know that. But we had a mechanic come out here and did some work on one of the backups, and they had a unit sitting there. So they were in the unit. And Weyauwega went out on a call, and we sent our Medic 4 units. They went on a long distance transfer, and they sat in Weyauwega. So you still had 3 units sitting out here in the system. This next one here, the hospital destination, it kind of shows you where do we take patients, out of the system. Well, a lion's share of them go to Riverside Medical Center. You can see that, 706. AMC, they get some patients. London gets patients. Theta. Other would be, some people in the Weyauwega area like going to Stevens Point. So there will be times that they go right to Stevens Point. In our bylaws at Gold Cross is we take the patient where they want to go the first time. So if you're living in Weyauwega and you say, hey, Mark or Dave, I want to go to St. A's, we're going to take you to St. A's. Now, if you have a life-threatening situation going on, we might tell you, hey, you know what, it's probably better if we take you to Riverside first, and then we can get you stabilized and transported. But even if they say at that point, you know what, I want to go directly to St. A's. I always use myself for an example. I live over in Hilbert, which is really Stockbridge, because I live in Lake Winnebago, and if someone picks me up, my kids are going to Theta. That's the way it is. I'm not going to go to Calumet. I have nothing against Calumet Hospital, but you know what? We doctor at Theta, and we're going to go to Theta Club. And for that extra 15 minutes, it's not that big of a deal, especially when you got paramedics sitting in the back of the ambulance. So that's your hospital destination breakdown. County, doesn't surprise me. In the county, we do most of our work out here in Weyauwega County. Okay, there is Outagamie County does split in London there. It's kind of a goofy situation there where some of that city is in Outagamie, and you can see we do pick up some patients in Outagamie County. Then the last page is a stroke, a medical trauma, stroke, STEMI, and trauma alert. And one of the things I can tell you that we're doing as an organization, there's really 4 big initiatives that we're doing. First one is our stemming work. That's a true heart attack. Now, Gold Cross was recognized again this year through the American Heart Association for the Gold Standard Award. We were one of 8 services in Wisconsin to get that. The year before that, we got it too. We were one of 2 services in the state. Now, there's 450 ambulance services in the state. So that's a big deal, and it's directly related on what do we do cardiac related for STEMI care. A STEMI patient is somebody having a true heart attack, which means you could literally die almost at any time. And so we were recognized as a gold standard on how we take care of that. To give you an example, in Weyauwega County, we are 75 minutes from the time paramedics see you to when you get your stent put in. Now that is a phenomenal number. Okay, those are numbers that I want to make sure that the council and the people know that when you look at healthcare today, that's a big deal. That's a really, when paramedics get in your door today, that's a whole lot different than what it was 10 years ago. I've been a paramedic longer than I even want to say, but they're doing work today that 10 years ago we weren't doing. They're doing work today that physicians are doing in the emergency room for the first 2 hours. We're doing it in your home. And I'm proud to report that we're doing great work with STEMI, with stroke. You're going to start hearing a lot of stuff about strokes, and I'm glad that people are starting to emphasize strokes. Years ago, you'd get a droop in your face, wouldn't do a whole lot with you. Today, they're doing a lot more care for you, and they're bringing a lot of people back from even strokes. So we're doing great work with strokes. Trauma Alert, Dave is on a mission with our paramedics that in your fire department, and people will start seeing this too, that our goal is 5 minutes on a trauma patient today. They're hearing from our dispatch center, 5 minutes on a car accident, you've been there for 5 minutes. When we hit 10 minutes, the golden hour is approaching really fast. When we hit 10 minutes, that automatically triggers, what do you call it at the office when people come in there? An after action.
MCI review.
So we do a review on every single call. So if we get on a bad accident out here, maybe on X where you guys were just at, and they were there over 10 minutes, they come in and they talk with Dr. Mark Westfall. Dave participates at Samantha Hilker. She's our EMS staff development manager. We just try to figure out what's happened out on that call, what created us. And there will be times that we can't leave in 10 minutes, okay? But there are times that we can leave in 5 minutes and do all our work on the way to the hospital and hopefully a trauma center, because that's where, when someone's really sick in trauma, that's where you want to go. We have a level 2 trauma center in the state of Clark, and that's where you want to be when you're sick. So we're doing some work with that, and but the alert is really the program that we're really focusing on. So I'm very happy with the numbers that you see here and the things that we're doing. So with that, that's kind of the information that I brought. At the consortium, if you come to that, people are welcome to come to that. You know, what we've asked for in the consortium, because there's 19 municipalities, have somebody designated there that we can give the information to, have a backup if they can't come, because we want people to come. And I will tell you, I suggested that we meet 4 times a year at the consortium, because I like to communicate with people. I think if people have problems, if there are police chiefs or fire chiefs or people in the community that have an issue with the service, I want to know about it. And Patrick knows that. I am very open, very transparent with information. You know, we're not going to do it right all the time. Let's figure out why it didn't happen right and try to fix it. And so the consortium decided to meet 2 times a year. So we're meeting in July and we're going to meet in December at Gold Cross. But we did recommend 4 times. But I understand people don't like meetings, and I don't like them all the time either. But I think it's important that we get our message out, and we get out and we talk to people and let them know what we're doing ambulance-wise. And it's really important that you guys understand what we're doing. We want to do it right. We want to do it right all the time. You can't have an ambulance at every street corner, but you certainly can strategically position them to make it work. And I can tell you from our end, looking at it, it's working.
Very good. Thank you.
Questions or comments or anything?
An awful lot to take in, so.
Yeah, a lot of this info is the same info you'll give at the consortium meeting.
Yes. Yep, and you know, quarterly, and I don't mind sharing it with Patrick monthly if that's what you guys want, you know, where you see it, you know, monthly, because the CAD system will tell you exactly what we're doing. Like I said, I look, and I know when we have long response times, we're looking at them. You know, typically we try to get in front of that and figure out what happened, but you know, there are times when we're gonna have either a bad accident or something happens where all the units are out. And it does happen at Gold Cross as well. You know, we have, I think, 17 ambulances total in our system. When you look at from our Gold Cross main headquarters to here, we have 10 units that are on. And so we don't run out of units. We just don't. We call people in when we have to, but you know what? There's a lot of real estate here too. You take 3 ambulances out of the system in a hurry, you know, we're gonna be scrambling. And like I said, most of the time we get it done right.
We are truly blessed to have 3 units and this close together, especially paramedic units. You get a little further north, and you're lucky to have maybe 1 EMT unit in the same amount of real estate that we have 3 paramedic units at.
You know, and our units have 2 paramedics per ambulance. So, I mean, there are systems, and we could have set the system up out here with 1 paramedic and an EMT. And they're not downplaying what EMTs do, but I can tell you what, paramedics are special people. And when I'm in the back of the ambulance and I'm looking at someone's heart rhythm, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'd like to look at somebody like Dave, well, he's a nurse too, but he's a paramedic, look at him and say, you know, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing? And it does make a difference, even though I know one of us has to drive, you know, to the hospital, but it does make a difference when you have 2 on a truck.
This stroke deal that you had over here, we were over that crossroad, when you came over here, well, the one we came picked up was my neighbor. Now, if you would've got this far, stopped by the train, would you had someone else coming this other way and meet up with it? Sometimes the train's there 20 minutes.
Yeah, the trains can be a problem here.
Yeah.
You know, we have talked to Patrick about that, and, you know, luckily we haven't been really caught by that, but I understand they
But that
stop.
place would've been a prime example.
Yeah.
Come from the crossroad over there, that's what we fight in London, Allegheny County.
Yep, and my daughter actually, I'm gonna stop and see her, she works at the nursing home, she's a nurse in town here, she just started, and she's worried about the tracks too, because it's on the other side of the tracks. And so, when we do post on the other side where that restaurant is there. Some of the reason is because of that, and the other reason is we can come in this way, off the highway if we have to. But to answer your question, if there is a problem, we can always send somebody from the other side. But that takes time, and that's where the communication piece needs to come in. One thing I did not talk about, you're on the fire department? Yeah, is one of the things I did not talk about is the radio transmission sometimes. People get, they don't understand why Gold Cross doesn't have everyone's frequency, okay? Well, we would have a lot of radios in our ambulance, let me tell you that. We cover 8 different counties, and not everyone does it the same, okay? We meet a lot with Andy Carlin, who's the county emergency management guy. I worked with Terry Wills for a long time. He retired now, and we're going to work with the new guy. In fact, I forget his name, but we went out to lunch with him and met him, so that we want to make sure that people can go right to Weyauwega County and say, what's the ETA in that ambulance? And our dispatch center is communicating right there with them. It's instant, because we have a radio in their comm center that talks to ours. 800, for instance, Weyauwega or Allegheny and Winnebago are on 800 megahertz radios. And we talked about, boy, should we go to that radio channel? It's 83% of what we do. We haven't done that. So even the fire departments in the city of Appleton can't just pick up a radio and call us. Now, since then, we did put 800 radios in the ambulance, okay? We might hard mount them in there, because they're $5,000 a piece for a radio, a portable. But you know what? We do want to communicate with you guys. So, you know, we have UHF, we do have a VHF channel, so I think maybe we can talk with the chief and figure out what would be the best channel for us to try to communicate on when we're going to the scene. But truthfully, the easiest way to do it is go through the county, because our dispatcher hears that. And the second he hears it, they have, we call it Facilis in our ambulance, they can text them a message right in the ambulance. Boom, goes right over their phone, and it goes right over the tablet that they're in there. So, but our whole goal is that if people are unhappy or if there's a problem with the service, I do want to hear about it, because we want to do it right and we want to fix it. And most of the time, we do it right. It's not going to happen all the time, and when we have problems, we want to look at it.
Good. One of the comments, I know Mark mentioned it, but we have that consortium meeting.
Yep.
We talked about whether or not the common council would be invited to attend that, and it sounds like you should be able to. I think I'll speak for Gold Cross and say that, you know, this room is a big room, but if everybody had 4, 5, 6 people from each community, we'd fill it up and then some, but I don't know that it's that big of a deal.
I believe it's the 26th.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
Yep, and we'll have it here, so.
And you know, a lot of, you'll see actually a lot of the same data, so if we have PowerPoint, I'll have it up on the screen.
Yeah.
So
That'd be
people
great.
can see it.
That'd be great.
What's the time on that?
We have 6:30, I think?
6:30.
Yeah.
And there is one, there will be a township in a different county that's coming because they've showed interest on joining the consortium. And I think you're gonna see that honestly happen more in the future. And I think what that does, it does two things. If it makes sense and we're closer to a place to do that, I think it's the right thing to do for healthcare. And secondly, it reduces the cost. I think when we started, I don't know if you all were on this when this ambulance thing started, but when Gold Cross started, it was expensive here. It was $24 or $25. We're down to 11, and I'm hoping to reduce that. And we raised your healthcare substantially, doing the same thing. And that's really our goal. Come in, be efficient, raise the healthcare. It's a win-win for the community.
Very nice.
Very good.
Okay.
The other item that we've had with Gold Cross is the contract.
Right.
And you do have just a reformatted version. I believe we're one of the last communities.
You are. Yeah.
That probably hasn't signed off on it yet. But one of the things we should do eventually is have probably a formal adoption of the contract. If you guys are looking to do that tonight, that would be great. But as we talked about in a previous meeting, our old contract, because it was more local to us, and Mark and Dave, I've talked to them about it too, it specified the ambulance garage that the city owns, and it technically served as a dual purpose agreement for service and a lease agreement too. And we've talked with Mark a little bit about drafting like a lease agreement that would be on the side of this contract here. So we'll still work on that yet, take care of that. But for now, what we're looking at is the service agreement that I believe every other community, I take for granted, but every other community is approved.
Yeah, and it's not a huge deal to me, but it is, it's about semantics too. I mean,
Right.
you gotta provide the service, we are providing it, we're providing the service for you, and, well, I'm hoping to get to one contract with the consortium, so that we're not doing 19 different municipalities all the time. You'll hear me talk about that if we come to the next meeting, because when December rolls around, I'm hoping to say, hey, you know what, appoint one person to this thing that has the authority to say, you know what, we met at our council and we're gonna go with this, and it does say in the contract that it just automatically renews unless you have a problem, and so what I'm trying to do is make it simpler for you as well, and making sure that everything's in there that you need for service. And we believe it's fine, so that's totally up to you. I'm not gonna stay here until you sign it, so you guys can do whatever you wanna do, on that. But you'll hear some of that discussion at the consortium meeting about having one contract with these 19, and whoever wants to join on, I think the group should have some say in that too.
All right.
You guys are out there when these guys are coming in all the time, aren't you? How do you feel with it?
I think they're a good service. I mean, there's times when, it could be anybody on the scene and it can feel like an eternity, but it's really not. There are times when it feels like we're there a while, but it's really 2 minutes.
Right. Seems like it's here.
I would speak on, there was a circumstance we had towards last winter. We called for a special service for you guys. We had a detail in town that law enforcement was organizing a search warrant process, and you guys had a rig that was down for maintenance. My fault, we called on short notice, but you guys were very accommodating in getting a rig coming here from the valley, and I think we were back with our game plan within 10 minutes. Your rig was still out for service, and you guys shoveled it from the valley, which was great to have stand by. And once we were done doing what we needed to do, we released, and you were back to your normal business.
Sure.
But it worked out well.
I'd like to see your facility because, and I agree with everything Brandon said there. When we sit in our squads, we see what our dispatch is dispatching ambulances to. So if you're dispatching, today's a perfect example, an ambulance south of town here for that emergency, well, I see that we're down to 2 units in your, we're packing in London area. If there's a crash out in London, you're down to 1, and then they get a call to the vet's room, you're down to 0. I'd like to see in your CAD system how that's backfilled, what the process is, who decides, and what is it that's happening? Is it always the unit from Crossroad? I was working that day, so I knew that was gonna be an issue, because I knew there were multiple ambulances called, and I think it was less than 5 minutes. But for my mind, where are they coming from?
Sure.
What am I anticipating? And then maybe some discussion as to, God forbid, we have the January pile at the bottom of the hill where there's 9 injuries. But what are we expecting for, I mean, do you just send more units? Do you use mutual aid through Fremont or Manawa or whoever the other services that are around?
Yeah, the protocol for our dispatch center is to send the closest available unit. So Fremont may be a unit that we pick to send, but we're gonna backfill that and send a paramedic unit behind them too. Because when we give calls to like let's use Weyauwega for instance, they are under, they're not sitting in the station all the time. That might take them 15 minutes even to get rolling. And by the time we're coming in the backside, we have paramedics there. So we have used Fremont, but we also do dispatch a Gold Cross unit behind that, making sure that we're coming.
Is there one unit that comes out if all 3 are out, or is there multiple units, or?
It'll all depend on what the system's doing, and if you, I would love you to come and see it, because we have what we call as a call predictor in our dispatch center.
That's what I'm getting at.
People are very impressed with that, and what it does is it color codes red, yellow, and green on our screen, and this is 10 years ago already that we were looking at that data, and I thought, boy, that's like, there's no way we're gonna go with that. And then a person I respect very greatly in Minnesota said, Mark, you should start looking at this. Is like 5 years ago. It's really improved. And I'll tell you what, you'll sit in our dispatch center and all of a sudden you'll see places get red and we start moving units around just based off of what the system is saying. And not what Dave thinks or I think or a supervisor thinks. We used to sit around and say X and Y ambulance went out and Z goes over here. Now we look on the map and say, how does that work there?
And I'd like to see that.
And I think you'd be impressed with it. But you're welcome anytime. You don't need to, you don't even need an invitation. If you're ever in there and you stop in there, just say, hey, I'm the guy from Weyauwega, and I'll let you rock, I'll let you right in and show
Well, I
you.
think Patrick had an interest in probably Brandon and maybe one other person in going down just to see how
Yep, we'd love to have you.
it's working. We'll do it by appointment.
That'd be wonderful.
Any other comments? Questions? I'll make a motion then to approve the Go Across service agreement.
So I'm gonna second it.
All right, we have a motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Good. That'll be it. Well, thank you guys very much.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep, we'll see you in
Appreciate
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Nice building here.
See you guys. Thanks.
Very, very nice.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
We do
no
appreciate it.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Dave. Guys, have a good night.
Okay, see you later.
Thanks.
So then we're on the discussion on the police vehicles.
Yes.
So we've got, if you've got your packet up, that's fine. We've got the info is on the screen here too. Do you have your info with you?
Yep,
I figured.
my handy phone.
Oh,
Here, Brandon, you want to use
No,
this?
I'm
All right.
You can sit over here, Brandon. We have,
Yeah, there's-
we have
it's right up on the
lots of
screen.
chairs.
Oh, I typed it up too, so I kinda got it all.
Or for that matter, Justin, if you wanna
yeah.
If
sit
you want to see
here,
what we're looking
you can
at.
read.
Yeah, come.
You guys don't mind?
Oh, we don't mind.
Come for your chair too.
Yeah. That way you get on camera.
Back when we asked to keep
Make sure you get your good side.
Thanks.
when we asked to keep the 4th car, you agreed with the arrangement was that we'd return with a report on what the cars were doing. And I advised Brandon just a couple of weeks ago that that day was coming and today was the day, so he put together the information that you see in front of you, and I'll let him walk you through what's in front of you there and then have some comments afterwards.
So I just tacked on to the original Word document that was typed up. Bruce, I don't think you were actually on.
No, I wasn't on it.
So I wanted to
I
make sure
watched
you
it
had,
when you were
yeah,
on it.
you were there, or seen it.
I see.
But I want to make sure you still had the paperwork that followed. So since that meeting, he graciously offered us a trial period with that car. The report is as of today's date. I got the mileage on it. We started April 12th when we started the trial period at 138,143 miles. June's mileage was 141,211, and July's mileage is 142,087. With a total from then till now, we put on just shy of 4,000 miles. During that meeting, we explained that we would do general maintenance. Luck would have it that 2 weeks after you allowed us and approved us for a trial period, we had fuel pumps go out. That particular car has 2 fuel pumps in it in the back seat. The cost was $650 for new parts to replace that. We were able to find used parts, so given the age of the car and the mileage, we did elect to put the used parts on it, at a cost of $348.50. We've done 1 oil change on that car since then, which is the typical $77.50. So that car, since April 12th, we've got $426 of maintenance in it, which I would again say is general maintenance. If we had a fuel pump go out in any other vehicle, we would replace that the same. Now, if we blew a cylinder or something on that car, obviously we would probably take a look at, cost versus benefit and determine at that point. Just kind of to give you a comparison on the other 3 cars since that April 12th, we have a general maintenance cost of $723.09. That was some minor engine work, some oil changes. We had a few tires that were losing air pressure, so that's where that cost came in. We're kind of right on line with our 2016 maintenance budget. That budget number is $4,500. To date, we've spent $1,485.79 of that, with the remaining $3,250.85. Since the April 12th date, that car has been used in a funeral escort, which, if we had more cars for the funeral escort, that's better. The front and rear lead. Regular patrol operations. We did do some drug investigation operations with that vehicle, but I guess I care not to go into great detail on that, but 2 special event patrols. We had the Vitreous Pipes and Stripes up at the fairgrounds, and then Jack had a celebratory deal for his closing of his business at the corner down here on Main Street. At the tail end of the approval of that car, we had one of our, Corporal Rogie was finishing up his leadership at Packet County trainings, so that car was used for that. Multiple circuit court appearances as well as municipal court, so there's a lot of travel back and forth between court appearances. There was a mental health transport. Typically mental health transports for us, when I get a call or know that one of our reps was out, I right away block off 8 hours from start to finish. That's kind of the average. By the time we make contact, by the time we're at the hospital, they're medically cleared, and by the time we get them transported to wherever they're going to receive their ongoing services, it's about 8 hours. So that car was a great fill-in. We were able to call somebody in for that transport, and then that car was just off on its own, finishing up that business and not overlapping into the ongoing patrols that we're currently going on here. So with that being said, I did explain, I think, very clearly in the April 12th meeting. I was very eager to explain to anybody who had questions, comments, concerns about how we operate our vehicles, whether it's 1 vehicle or 4 vehicles. To this date, I've had nobody approach me, and as far as I know, the chief has had nobody approach him with any type of questions, comments, or concerns of why we have 4 cars, why we are doing this, why there's a car here. I mean, I've experienced I haven't heard any aldermans approach me or any type of conversation that they've been approached. I don't know you have or haven't. Again, I haven't had anybody contact me. I did talk to, as I mentioned in the April 12th meeting, the 4 people which I elected not to give their names on camera because I didn't get approval from them, but they were individuals of responsibilities within our community, and they said we completely put the trust in you. If you think you need to operate with 4 cars, then so be it. I mean, that's why you guys are in your positions to manage that department, and I guess I can appreciate their comments. So with that being said, you know, I would request that we continue the operation of the 08 Dodge in the responsible manner that we have been. You know, as far as the maintenance goes, we're going to remain realistic. I mean, if it's not something that's within reason, we're certainly going to look at sending that car down the road, because obviously it is a 08, and I don't want to start nickel and diming our current budget. What I didn't put on this report was that the 2013 Explorer is running at about 90,000 miles right now, which, if I did the quick math, it's about 30,000 a year, which is on target with our night squad and the miles that our night patrol put on. So we're projecting that that Explorer will last until probably another 2 years. So with that being said, every more mile that goes on the Dodge, and however we like to use it, is one less mile on that Explorer. The 2016 Dodge right now has 3,700 miles on it. We've had that in service for probably better part of 5-6 months-ish. The Expedition, I think, has a little over 50,000 miles on it. 60,000. That vehicle's been in service since 2010. So my prediction is, if it works out, we probably won't be looking at replacing another squad for a minimum of 2 years, with my fingers crossed, but we could maybe even extend that further. I'm not sure. There is some research I can do as far as maybe replacing the Expedition, because it is a 2010 with 60,000 miles on it. I mean, there's considerable value there yet for a SUV. There might be a benefit, I don't have that information now, but there might be a benefit of selling that vehicle outright and getting it replaced while there's still value. I don't know, or we can just hang on to it and run it as is. But that's kind of what I have in a nutshell.
Another example of how that's been helpful is a car deer accident. While the car's been in the shop for maintenance, all the miles have been put on that Dodge Charger. And there's a couple other situations that have come up. The mental health transport is a good example. If I get a mental health transport or situation at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think, not quite as conservative as Brandon, I think 8 to 12 hours, depending on what's going on at the hospital for medical clearance. So what I typically do is I'll immediately get a part-time staff member, if they're available, to come. They'll come down to the department, pick up a squad, meet at the hospital, and then they're sitting at the hospital where myself or Adam or Brandon or Matt isn't at an overtime rate, and then they take the transport. So my squad's in service, the Charger's in service, the second Charger's in service, and then we have the night squad. And that does happen, and there's training dates that we've had in April and May where Brandon went Monday, Tuesday, and Adam went Wednesday, Thursday down to Hartford, where they were crossing paths. So one was going down for 2 days. When he got done, the other 2 were on their way down. So we're not using cars like we were when I started over 20 years ago. That's a whole different animal, and we're branching out. Our investigations aren't all within the city limits of Weyauwega. We go places and we have to go talk to people, and the more we use that car and the less mileage that gets put on the other ones, the plan was that we can extend the life of them. So I would agree with Brandon at this point. I don't know why we wouldn't keep it. It's been a great asset, and it's in good shape. Still looks nice.
One thing that scares me is the mileage. I mean, we deal with a lot of the Dodge Chargers too at work. And they ain't good for high mileage.
Well, it's,
A lot of problems with them.
I'll be honest with you, we had a lot of problems with that car in its young life. And we fixed that car. And all the problems that the county's had, and we've already had, and those have been addressed and fixed for the most part. I can't say that, like he said, you're gonna blow a cylinder and it's gonna be dead, but
Yeah.
I can tell you that car with that many miles on it has no resale value. You know, we could put it out there and just see, but
Yeah, you ain't gonna
if
get
we could
resale
get
value.
$900 for it, for a taxi cab company in Chicago or overseas, is it worth it, or
No.
keeping it here and using it? And obviously it'll get used a little bit less in the wintertime, just because it's not a desirable vehicle to be going
Right.
through 8 inches of snow.
Right.
But right now, we're getting into the season where we're having a lot of extra events that require people to be in different spots, like the fair, horse and buggy days. Like you mentioned, we had a couple of motorcycle rallies come through town. One of them took all 4 of us to do in 4 different intersections because there were so many motorcycles, and it's nice to have, and I would ask that you let us continue on.
Well, at least for 1 more month you're going to, because this is really the chairman's thing. And since he could not make the meeting tonight, well, I would say that I would defer until such time as he is here. Just because.
Would you like Brandon to come back, or me to repeat all that information, or is he gonna
Well,
watch it?
you know,
or read
It's
it?
on video, he has a packet, he can read the packet, we can discuss it. He can discuss it with you, with Brandon, if he has questions, and then we will just address it as is next month.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Patrick?
Don't say you-
I don't know why I'm asking you, because it really has nothing to do with
It's
you,
up to
does
you,
it?
yeah, well, no, but
This is the chief, not you.
it's
But,
your wishes as the committee too, so.
right, and I just, because this was Mike's, well, I think we should wait for a decision until he's here, so we'll just let it ride. You okay with that, Bruce?
Yeah.
All right. So,
You wanna make a motion to hold it a month, or do you just want to hold it a
we
month?
didn't make a motion to keep it.
Okay.
That was never done on any motion.
No.
No, they just loosely gave a,
We just loosely gave a thing. We said loosely we wanted a report in July. We didn't. So it really, there's no difference. We're just tabling it for the month.
can I, just for the record, can I ask the 2 members of the committee, I mean, the report that you were hoping to get in July with the info that was presented, does it seem to be what you were hoping to have?
It's,
Yeah.
it satisfies my needs, yes.
Okay, I think that's important to note.
Right, no, the
You know.
information is good, but like I said, this was the chairman's
Yeah,
thing, so I
understandable.
think that we should allow him to voice any opinion he may have.
The maintenance of $426, that really, that's diddly nowadays, you know, when something goes wrong with these cars.
Right. Okay.
Okay,
All right,
so we will hold it. Further comment?
all right. So now, you've had the update already. Right, so we're down to, are there any such other matters that's authorized by law?
No, just to follow up quick, I did talk to Go Across because the invite that came out for that consortium meeting was, they wanted to have 1 or 2 people. They have a goal to set up a more formal consortium where you would then have more formally appointed representatives, sort of like what you have with the fire district. But for right now, because I've been in touch and following it, I've gone to the meetings. Now I'm not the official representative of the city, but I'm a representative of the city that's been going to the meetings. So they haven't had any votes. Really, it's just been informational only. Because what they did was, you know, the contracts they sent out to us last November, December. And I'm happy that there was some action being taken on this contract because the contract we're operating on right now is actually the EMT service contract from when they first bought it from Weyauwega and Weyauwega area ambulance, so it needed to be updated anyway. But one of the questions I had was, you know, whether or not they could really restrict attendance, knowing that it's an open public meeting. And I didn't, just kind of asked or gently mentioned that, and they said, well, no, everybody would be invited. But they didn't want to have, though, respectfully, I think, is they didn't want to have 100 people coming and saying, well, this one time out at the end of my road, there was an ambulance, what was that all about? And then that times 100.
Right.
And I guess that's understandable too.
It is understandable.
So we will have that here. One of the questions I'm gonna ask is whether or not it's something we could film. And if we would film that meeting, I mean, it's sort of not really our meeting, we're hosting it. It's sort of we're 1/19th of the consortium, but if we could film it, I think there's some value to that too.
It'd be valuable to them.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. But they are excited because they did say that they want to use a lot of the AV, and they would have tonight, but they brought the paper packets, they had a PowerPoint they could have plugged in, but. That, again, that's in 2 weeks from tonight though, here at 6:30.
Didn't our fire chief wanna be here, talk to them too? Wasn't that one of the things we discussed, that he wanted to be here for this?
Yeah, and we did give him a note. I'm assuming he was on the call or tied up with the call. But we did let him know that we were meeting tonight. And I think even last month we mentioned that they were coming tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But he'll get his chance on the 26th then.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yep. Other than that, I don't,
You are the logical choice to attend the meetings,
yeah,
only because more than likely you're not going to get voted off the island.
right.
So,
Right. Yeah, and there's a mix. The Hortonville police chief is on there. Henry from Weyauwega's the administrator, he's their rep, but then from there it's a lot of, well, the towns, it's the town board members or whatever, but,
well, it would make sense to send you,
yeah.
speaking for the city.
Yep.
And then imagine we'd have to do something to authorize you the power to vote for us, but,
Yeah, and I think that's if they would set that group up
right.
to work like our fire district works. No
Right.
matter what you'd have, you'd always have to get some kind of a vote here anyway, though.
Right.
You know?
You're right, you would.
Really, the only vote they took was whether to meet 2 times a year or 4, and a lot of the towns kind of overruled and said they didn't want to meet more than they had to. So, but we did get it here, and it sounds like all the communities had talked about wanting to keep it here at least 1 time per year too, because a lot of them had said we're pretty centrally located.
Nice.
So, that's good.
It would be nice to get like quarterly reports like this, if we could. I don't think monthly is necessary,
Right.
but it might be interesting to get the quarterly report, see what their average response time was, see what's going on. That might be interesting.
Yep. Yep. Good. Did you want to set a meeting? I know you had a special request on that first week in August,
Right.
like the first, the second, I think. or-
The 2nd of August, right? If I can bring my calendar, no, I'm going to get it on the spot.
We have the first and the second.
The first is a Monday, so that, I was hoping that for Public Works. Recreation is gonna be on the 2nd. So yeah, if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to have the police meeting also on the 2nd. Probably after rec, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you, Jerry?
I don't see any issues with that.
Perfect. I appreciate it.
The only item you got left then would be the closed session.
Yeah, it's the 2nd here. I fat fingered it. I'm trying to create an event.
All right, blow up then too, Fred.
All right. So, need a motion to go into closed session. Actually, I will make the motion to go into closed session pursuant to state statute 19.85, section 1, subsection C, Wisconsin statutes. Consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any city employee who is subject to the jurisdiction or authority of the council. Reason for the closed session is to discuss hiring process for full-time police officer position. The committee may choose to reconvene in open session at the completion of the closed session in order to take action on items from the closed session.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Gunderson,
Aye.
Gage,
Aye.
In closed session at 7:25.